Well, Seth, thank you so much for helping my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Seth. I am a business owner, own a plumbing company, run it, and have 4 kids and one on the way here in like the next week or so. So
Wow,
that's me.
that's awesome. So we're kind of recording this a little bit on the later side of the evening, but you still might be getting to bed earlier this week than you will be next week.
Yes, definitely. But my wife is good about that. So she handles kids whenever I go to sleep. It takes a lot to wake me up.
That's amazing. The least little thing, and I can't go to sleep. But how old are your kids?
My oldest is 11 and all the way down to 3. Quite the range. It's 11, 9, 5, and 3.
Any of them aspiring astronauts, or what are their interests?
Uh, my oldest, and so he a bit about that, and he wants to be a video game designer. But that's my other one. I have an artist, my only daughter, she's an artist, and then my younger two, anything that makes noise.
That's that's interesting. Well, I guess first of all, did you know that NASA was planning to send people to the moon in 2024?
So I learned that from your little video project whenever I watched Doug's interview. So I hadn't known that, and I follow SpaceX pretty uh, regularly, but since NASA real low and quit the shuttle missions, that was kind of the last I've really followed them. Besides, I checked to see if fusion propulsion is a thing uh, somewhat regularly, but that's I didn't know that.
And having learned about it, what do you think?
I think that's pretty cool. We have the capability to you know, do amazing things and learning more about. I think I might have lost.
Um, yeah, the first part was a little garbled, but then you started coming in towards the end. I heard the amazing things part.
Okay. Oh.
Um,
So I I think I think it's a good thing.
Most of the non-space people that I talk to haven't heard that we're going to the moon. And you even mentioned that you follow SpaceX and you just learned about it. Um, what do you think NASA should be doing differently so that more people are aware?
I would guess that just their you know I guess marketing to people, not necessarily like to sell them things, but marketing who they are as an organization, and making it more for the average person. Uh, I had the NASA channel whenever I used to have time to watch TV, and that was something that I would watch, somewhat regularly, just as that was more interesting than whatever garbage is on TV to me. And but you you didn't. It would be whatever was currently going on, not necessarily like of a, you know, I guess way to and then with support.
Well, you mentioned maybe they should do more advertising and marketing. Could you describe like what would be advertising and marketing that would have been effective in reaching you, do you think?
I don't know. I'm kind of I'm not a big I'm not sure it doesn't show up there. I don't really know about it. I try to stay out of some current events because it's kind of depressing these days.
But do you like listen to the radio or watch broadcast TV or read a newspaper or magazine? Like, what what are sort of like mediums that um, uh, are effective in communicating with you?
Probably online news articles. That's where I would normally find things. So I read a lot of Wired stuff, um, and I check. I do actually check. They have their Jet Propulsion Institute, and I read stuff on there, but I I guess dug far enough.
Yeah, there's so much that NASA does with a probe that's supposed to a rover that lands on the moon. No, sorry, Mars next month, Perseverance, and then two probes are landing on the moon later this year, as well as like some probes that are at satellites and not satellites but asteroids, and it's just kind of amazing. And then the James Webb Telescope supposed to be going up this year, plus the International Space Station and launching astronauts. So it's really a lot to keep up with. Um, so you said you thought it was good that we're going to the moon. What do you hope we get out of it? One of the questions I get asked a lot is why are we going back? Why now? Why again? How do we justify that? What do we hope to get out of it? And do you have some thoughts on kind of like your answers about why you think it's a good idea?
Uh, well, we've only been to the moon a couple of times. You know, starting in the late '60s, and the it haven't been since what, early '70s.
That's right. 1972 was the last
So,
time.
our technology. Okay, so our tech than, like the landers, and even I think the spacecraft that brought people to the moon. So, you know, we have way more technology, makeup of things, and whatever is there to be learned, we have a better chance of learning now. Now,
And
technicalities, I don't necessarily know.
and also, I've talked to two Apollo deniers as part of my project. Both of them, when asked about how come they had that belief, um, kind of use the quality of the pictures to justify it. It's like, how could you believe that was real? That type of thing. So I think, this time for sure we're going to get way better pictures than we did the first time we went to the moon.
Yeah. Uh, it's I've watched some conspiracy documentaries about. I don't see what the gain from having lied to us just to say they went to the moon. I don't think Russia cared that much at the time.
Well, I think Russia would have been very quick to provide evidence if there was any fakery. How difficult would it have been for them to detect that those signals of the transmissions weren't coming from the moon with the astronauts? Um,
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
uh, but looking out into the far future, if you consider between now and the time that Christopher Columbus came to the New World, that's about 500 years. And if we look out an additional 500 years from now, do you think that we've spread out into the rest of the solar system in the same way that we've spread out into the Americas? What do you think? Are we still here on the Earth, just making these little short trips to places? What do you think?
Uh, well, I know that the Voyager missions are like 12 billion miles from Earth right now, so we're at least making some progress in that aspect. But I would hope that as we go further into space, we take care, um, more so than we've taken in spreading, throughout the earth. Uh, I know that like space junk is something that's starting to be, you know, and so we have the, what is it, the Starlink, uh, uh, internet from space that is starting to mess with, pictures and stuff, go and learn things.
Yeah, Starlink with its thousands of satellites is definitely a new phenomenon in terms of the number of satellites that are going to be deployed. So managing sort of the low Earth orbit environment is going to become more important. Um, if it was safe and affordable, would you have an interest in going into space yourself?
If my kids were all 18, yes. Uh, I'm also waiting to skydive until that point. But I would, judging from the interviews that I'm looking at how huge the world is and how small we are, in relationship to the greater universe, like I think that would be a perspective that seeing it would hit home much more than words that they give.
Oh, what do you think about eventually putting like the United Nations in orbit around the Earth so that you have all these delegates instead of meeting in New York, they're actually meeting in space with the Earth below them and kind of creating that, kind of a more of a one world perspective. I mean, they're literally zipping around the world every 90 minutes. Um,
It might would change some decisions that people make. It might put things in a better perspective. Now, cost wise, that might be prohibitive, but
but not for long. I mean, you talked about SpaceX Starlink, but you also have SpaceX Starship, which is the rocket they're building in Boca Chica, Texas, near Brownsville. It'd be 100% reusable,
Right.
and they say they can. A ticket on it would be like a first class ticket on an airline, um, and they're talking about being able to take the same craft, launch it 3 times per day, and they're talking about having a factory down there that's able to produce 2 of these per week. So whenever you get up to that scale, our concept of what's expensive and cheap completely changes. Um,
Right. And I think they just made their 8th controlled landing, which is a record, I think, within the past couple of days,
well,
uh,
the
for the it's the Falcon, I think, that did the 8th controlled landing.
Well, that was the eighth for that particular Falcon. They've actually done over, I
Right.
think, 100 landings.
Right. But 8th being the most reused rocket, landing.
Oh, exactly. That's true. That is true. Well, uh, was there something else that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to?
Um, no, I would just say for everybody that listens or can listen that, love everybody because that's what life's about. That would be my only thing to say.
That's a good advice. And, that advice is going to be put on um, this little micro SD card, and it's going to be sent to the moon later this year. So maybe some future generation uh, will will be inspired by those words.
Very cool. Very cool.
Well, thank you, Seth, so much for being available in such a short notice. And I know the networks have been a little challenging to work with, but I really appreciate you helping and participating in my project.
Problem. Sorry for the bad internet connection.
No worries. Starlink could be here before we know it and solve all these problems.
Right.
Well, you have a good night. Enjoy one of the last few nights of good sleep for a while.
I appreciate that, Nathan.
Take care. Bye bye.
Have a good one.